So first of all, a brief introduction about Preferred by Nature. We are a Danish non-profit organization. We already have more than 350 staff around the world in 30 different countries, and we have been working in managing lands and business and sustainability for more than 30 years. Right now, we are in 109 countries working with different programs. So we are a very global organization. We will begin with an introduction to the regulation and see what is the objective of the regulation. First of all, the objective or the big objective is to minimize or reduce all the consumption of products that are related or associated to deforestation or forest degradation. And also they want to increase the demand of products that are legal and deforestation free. And this will change a little bit with the key definitions that I will mention you ahead. So here is like a timeline that what is happening. We just have the European Parliament adopt the regulation in 2 months ago, and the Council last month in the 16th of May. So for June, is expect that we will have a publication in the European Official Journal, and from that day, we will have 18 months to comply with all the requirements of the regulation. This is for big companies, and for operators that are small or micro enterprises will be 24 months. That will be on June 25, 2025. So if you see, there is a short space in which we have to implement different requirements. So which are key components? The prohibition of import and export of not compliant products. We will see what is the due diligence obligation and all the obligations to ensure the implementation of the regulation and the implementation of an information system that will be online. So for this regulation, the European deforestation regulation, they have choose different commodities that are wood, beef, palm oil, soy, coffee, rubber, and cocoa. Not only like the main product, also all the derived products, for example, in coffee, the coffee husk, the skins, all the coffee substitutes containing coffee, all this is included in the scope of the regulation. And for each of the commodities, they have established different nomenclatures and different codes. So each of the commodities has a section in the regulation. Who are the main actors? So we have the European Commission. We also have member states that will be like the authorities, also custom authorities and the industry. The industry will be separated in operators and traders. We will be talking about this main actor in the next slides. For the industry, it is obligation to have a due diligence and will be they will have a provision to place in the market not compliant products. So which are the obligations for the operation? First of all, they have to be deforestation free. They have to be produced with the law of the country of production in accordance with the law. And also they will have to establish a due diligence statement. And also it's really important that they have an exercise of due diligence through a system and procedures. We will talk more about the due diligence in a minute. For the traders, we have two different types of traders. The SMEs that you can see in this small chart, white box here, that SME means micro, small, and medium-sized enterprises. So we have the traders that are small and the other ones that are not small. For the small ones, there will be a moment to gather a lot of information. So not only to gather, to maintain during some time. So we need information from the buyers and suppliers. We need all the due diligence statements associated to that product. And also we have to maintain this information for at least 5 years. And this information has to be provided to all the authorities. For the traders that are not SME, the obligations are the same of the operator. So some of the key definitions and concepts of what we have been talking about, I will show you some of them. So this is really important, so I will read it as it is in the slide. So what means deforestation free? They mentioned that is that the relevant products contains or had been made using coffee that was produced on land that has not been subject to deforestation after December 31, 2020. So this is the day that they will begin to use as the deadline. For the relevant legislation, it's really important to know or to identify in terms of the land use, environmental protection, forest-related regulation. In this case for coffee is not applicable, so I will put an X because this is only applicable for wood. And other important relevant regulation is labor rights, human rights, third-party rights, also of tax, anti-corruption, and customs regulations. We were talking that we have to establish a due diligence. It's separated in 3 parts. The first one is a collection of information, where you begin to collect all the information of your supply chain, and then you have to make a risk assessment. When you have all these, you have to mitigate all this risk. So you have to make a risk mitigation. The due diligence statement has to be uploaded in an online information system, and there will be no export or export if you are not submit this statement to the information system. This is a little bit of the information that we have to gather, like description of product, quantity, where it was produced, location. This is really important. That is why it's in red. It's really important to have the location of all the plots of land. Also, you need supplier's name. Who are you going to buy? How you can evidence that you are deforestation free, and how you can evidence that you are complying with relevant legislation. For the risk assessment, in the case of the importer, it's really important to take in account different topics. If there is forest, where is the coffee plantation? If there is in the zone prevalence of deforestation, we have to identify how much loss we have in our region. Also, we have to identify if we have a risk in relation with corruption. We have to also look for different complexity of the supply chain and also take into account different groups of members of the community that are near the region of the plantations. When you identify all these risks, you have to implement different measures to mitigate the identified risk. So this is really important. One of the options is through certification schemes, but however, we have to also still conduct the due diligence and the due diligence statement. So in the coffee sector, not only in Latin America, not only in Africa, for the whole sector, we have identified some potential impacts that this regulation can bring. So the first potential impact is that there will be an increase of the demand of transparency and traceability in all the coffee supply chain. We will have a lot of pressure to have data, to have information, geolocation, information of the date of production. And so there will be more pressure to have data, information in hands. Also, there will be a scrutiny from buyers for deforestation and not compliance law to relevant coffee productions. There will be restricted access to the EU market, because if you're not complying with the regulation, you will not access the European market. We saw a potential impact in smallholders, and there will be an increase in certifications and multi-stakeholders initiatives. All this will be changing with time. I will mention how we can prepare, or the companies can prepare, or the cooperative can prepare, or all the actors can be prepared. So how can we be prepared? This is from the point of view of the producer. We need engagement with buyers, with the supply chain, with our suppliers. So from the day of the publication of the law, we will need to engage with a lot of the actors or all the activities that we have near our farm, company, or trader. We need to begin to discuss about information, how we are going to exchange this information, how we are going to maintain the confidentiality of this information. Also, we need to implement all the measures to see if we are complying with the law, to identify them, how we are complying, or how we are going to comply. Also, we have to, how we can prepare, also consider sustainability certifications, because that will be a tool to demonstrate that the coffee that we are exporting or importing is deforestation free and compliant with all the laws. And as I mentioned, we have to be prepared to pass information downstream, upstream. There will be a lot of movement of information that will be need to be exchanged or passed through the different supply chain. In other point of view, this one were producers. Now we are going to talk about supply chain. Again, like I mentioned, for the producers, we need engagements with our buyers. We need an engagement with our supply chain. So right now, the relation between all the actors has to be very, very like friendly, like very union, because we need to work together to try to comply with all these requirements. Also, we will need to increase our level of transparency and traceability. in the whole supply chain, not in only one sector. In the whole supply chain, we need to have this transparency and traceability. And also, we need to understand and identify all the risk of deforestation and production that we have in our region, in our country, depends where we are working. And also consider any other risk that can be addressed for this regulation. So we were talking about the regulation, how we can be prepared, some different key definitions. And right now I will change a little bit and I will talk about our sustainability framework program. This was developed by Preferred by Nature. And I will mention that the vision of this framework is try to address all the core sustainability issues in one framework. So with this sustainability framework that Preferred by Nature has developed, we can identify or verify the land use, the size, the commodity, the manufacturers, different, for example, if you want to verify or to identify if you can be part of investor or banks or other financial institutes, this can help you also to safeguard against sustainability risk. So we have developed a framework that can be very flexible. So it will adapt to your commodity, to the type of ownership, the country, and the different risks you have identified. So the sustainability framework has different standards. For example, we have one for what is the sustainability framework. We have other to ensure the implementation of sustainability commitments. We have other standard that is called supplier management and due diligence requirements. And also different standards like claims and CLUs standards. So we have created one document for each of them, and we have more. This is just part of all the whole combo of the sustainability framework. So what is the sustainability framework? We have identified 4 big principles. One is management and business, sorry. The second one is people. The third one, nature. And the 4th is climate. For each of the principles, we have different criteria, and these criteria are here. For example, we have principle 1, all the criteria here, and then in each of the criteria, we have indicators for 2.1, for 2.2, we have more indicators in our sustainability framework. So, which is the idea? With this verification tool that we have created, we are aligned with the EUDR regulation and also with many sustainability schemes. We can make a benchmarking with them. And also we have the part of carbon footprint, and also we can have different add-ons that can be very specific for the commodity, so we are going to use this tool to adapt to the reality of any company organization. Inside the document, you can use this tool and begin to identify, because they are with a flag, all the requirements of the EUDR. You can begin to check in the list if you are complying with all the requirements of this new regulation. So Like we have this verification tool. This tool will be free. We will put it in our website and everyone can download the tool and begin to identify the different risks in your company or organization. But also we have different tailored services and a sourcing hub. I will talk a little bit about the tailored services. For example, I will give like 4 big examples of the services that we can work with you. For example, we can make a supply chain engagement. We can also create benchmark policy or other standards. We can develop different systems of gathering information. Other third service that we can offer is that we can make a risk assessment and a verification of what we do put in the tool. So we'll make a verification to see if you are complying with all the requirements. And also we have a sourcing hub where we got a lot of information. We got a lot of risk assessment for different countries, for different commodities. So this is available for all of you. At the end, so with this sustainability framework program, we are trying to create our sustainability tree in which we think we need all these leads that are really important to implement sustainability in different commodities. So we are aligned with the EUDR. We have relevant and different types of operations. We are risk-based. This tool is very comprehensive. It can fit to all sites, small, medium, big companies or organizations or businesses. And it is applicable for different commodities. And as I mentioned, there is a hard component of timing. Also, we have recognition of other certification schemes. We have make a performance-based. It's an open source, as I mentioned. You can download it from our website. And there is also the option to use the preferred by nature seal. So this is a part of the information that I want to share with you. As I mentioned, we have different options. We have the sustainability framework. We have the sourcing hub. We have the sailor services. And all this is important and it's for you. And here in this code, you can scan it and it will take you to our website in where you can find more information about the sustainability framework, the hub, the EUDR regulation. We have videos, we have trainings. We have a lot of information to share with a lot of people, and you just get in, download it, and it's for free.